Look, I'm not proud of lying to my husband, but sometimes a little secret is the only thing standing between you and complete disaster. And trust me, if I hadn't kept my mouth shut about owning that apartment, my marriage would have been over before it even started. My name's Maya, and this is the story of how one little omission saved my entire life. So here's the thing. I bought my apartment in Brooklyn back in 2018. I was 26, working my butt off as a freelance graphic designer, taking every job I could get. While my friends were out partying and buying designer bags, I was eating ramen and sleeping on a mattress on the floor, socking away every single penny. When I finally had enough for a down payment, I found this gorgeous 2-bedroom in Park Slope. It needed work, sure, but it had good bones, you know? High ceilings, original hardwood floors, tons of light. I put down 30%, renovated it myself, and by myself, I mean YouTube videos and pure determination, and paid off the mortgage aggressively over the next few years. By the time I met Derek in 2023, that apartment was 100% mine. No mortgage, no debt, just mine. Derek was, he was everything I thought I wanted. Charming, ambitious, worked in finance. We met at a coffee shop in Manhattan. Total rom-com moment where he accidentally grabbed my latte. We clicked instantly. He was funny, attentive, always planning these elaborate dates. 3 months in, I was head over heels. 6 months in, we were talking about forever. But there was one thing that made me cautious. His mother, Patricia. Patricia Thornton was old money. Like, my grandfather founded a bank old money, and she made sure everyone knew it. The first time I met her, she looked me up and down like I was something stuck to her Louboutin. "Oh, you're a graphic designer. How creative." She asked where I lived, and I said Park Slope. She nodded, all tight-lipped. Renting, I assume. And here's where I made the decision that would change everything. I looked at Derek, saw this flicker of embarrassment in his eyes, and I said, "Yeah, just renting." It was easier. It kept the peace. And honestly, I wanted to see how they'd treat me if they thought I was just some regular girl scraping by. Derek proposed on our 1-year anniversary. It was beautiful. Candlelit dinner at this rooftop restaurant, the whole 9 yards. I said yes without hesitation. But then came the wedding planning, and Patricia, she took over like a military general. "Derek, darling, you'll obviously move Maya into your condo after the wedding. It's much more appropriate for a Thornton." "Actually," I said carefully, "I really love my place in Brooklyn. It's got so much charm and..." "Brooklyn?" Patricia laughed. Actually laughed. "Sweetheart, you're marrying into a different life now. You can't possibly expect Derek to live in some cramped rental in Brooklyn." "It's not cramped," I said, my jaw tight. "It's 2 bedrooms, renovated." "A rental is a rental, dear. Derek owns his property. It's only logical." Derek squeezed my hand under the table. "Mom, we'll figure it out." But I could see it in his eyes. He agreed with her. Patricia stood up, furious. "This is unacceptable. Derek, if you side with her over your own mother, then I'm siding with my wife, like I should have been doing all along." Patricia grabbed her purse. "You'll regret this." "Maybe, but I'd regret losing Maya more." She stormed out. The door slammed so hard my vintage mirror rattled. Derek and I sat in silence. Then he said, "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Why did you really keep this from me?" I thought about it. Honestly, I was scared. Scared that if you knew I didn't need you financially, you'd think I didn't need you at all, or that you'd resent me for having my own success. And I guess I wanted to see if you'd love me even if I had nothing. And you did. You do. You're just really bad at showing it sometimes." He laughed, a broken sound. "I can work on that." It's been 6 months since that dinner. Derek and I did go to counseling. It wasn't easy. We had to unlearn a lot of toxic patterns, but we're getting there. We sold Derek's condo, moved into my apartment, our apartment. Patricia hasn't spoken to us, but Derek's dad called last week. Said he was proud of Derek for standing up for his marriage. Said Patricia would come around eventually. Maybe she will. Maybe she won't. But here's what I learned. Keeping that secret wasn't about deception. It was about self-preservation. It was about protecting myself from people who would have treated me differently, worse, if they'd known the truth from the start. The week before the wedding, Patricia invited me to lunch. Just the two of us. I should have known something was up. We met at this insanely expensive French restaurant in Manhattan. She ordered a $200 bottle of wine before I even sat down. "Maya, dear, I want to talk to you about your future," she said, her smile sharp as a knife. "Okay. I know you've worked very hard. I respect that. But you have to understand, Derek has certain expectations, a certain lifestyle. His father and I have built something for him, and we need to ensure it's protected." My stomach dropped. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that after the wedding, you'll need to be realistic about your financial contribution. Derek makes 7 figures. You make, well, considerably less. I think it's best if you let him handle the major decisions. The property, the investments, Are you asking me to sign a prenup?" "Oh no, darling. We already had Derek's lawyer draw one up. It's standard, really. What's his remains his, and, well, you understand." She slid a manila folder across the table. I stared at it, my hands shaking. "And if I don't sign?" Patricia's smile never wavered. "Then I'd have to question whether you truly love my son or just his bank account." I signed the prenup. I know, but I loved Derek. I really did. And part of me thought, who cares? I have my own place, my own career. I don't need his money. The wedding was a circus. 300 guests, ice sculptures, a live orchestra. Patricia spared no expense and reminded everyone of that fact approximately every 5 minutes. Derek looked so happy. So did I, honestly. Because in that moment, standing at the altar, I thought we could make it work. Love conquers all, right? Wrong. We moved into Derek's condo. I put my apartment up for rent, which broke my heart, but Derek insisted it was practical. We can use the rental income for vacations, or save it. Either way, it's smart. I didn't tell him I didn't need a mortgage payment because the place was paid off. I just didn't. The rental income went straight into my private account. About $3,500 a month for a 2-bedroom in Park Slope. But living with Derek, it was suffocating. Everything was white. White walls, white furniture, white marble. I couldn't put up my art because Patricia said it clashed with the aesthetic. I couldn't rearrange furniture because Derek liked it just so. I felt like a guest in my own home. And Patricia, she had a key. She'd show up unannounced, critique my cooking, rearrange my kitchen cabinets. Maya, dear, this is how we organize things in the Thornton family. I was drowning. 3 months into the marriage, Derek came home with news. Mom found a great investment opportunity in Connecticut, a lake house property. She thinks we should go in on it with her and Dad. How much? $750,000, but it's a steal, Maya. We'd split it with them, so only $375,000 from us. I nearly choked. Derek, that's insane. We can't just drop... We can't afford it. I checked our accounts. Your accounts. He blinked. What? You checked your accounts, not mine. We don't even have joint accounts, Derek. Because you don't contribute enough for it to matter. The silence was deafening. Excuse me? He had the decency to look embarrassed. I just mean, look, Maya, you make like $60,000 a year. I make $1.2 million. It's just, the math doesn't really work for combining finances. So what am I then? Just some poor girl who lucked into marrying money? Maya. I grabbed my coat. I need some air. I went to Brooklyn, to my apartment. My tenant was out of town, so I let myself in and just sat there in the dark. This was mine. I built this. I earned this, and I'd let Derek and Patricia make me feel like I was nothing. That's when I decided. I was done hiding. I invited Derek and Patricia to dinner the next week at my apartment. Why would we go all the way to Brooklyn? Patricia whined. Because I'm cooking, and I want to show you something. Derek was confused, but he agreed. When they arrived, Patricia looked around with barely concealed disgust. Well, it's quaint. Your landlord clearly hasn't updated since the 90s. Actually, I said, setting down a dish, I have. I renovated this place myself. How generous of your landlord to let you... Patricia, Derek, sit down. I need to tell you something. They sat, looking uncomfortable on my vintage velvet sofa. I don't rent this apartment. I own it. I bought it in 2018, paid it off completely 3 years ago. It's worth about $1.4 million now. Derek's face went white. What? I own it. Free and clear. No mortgage. The $3,500 a month you think is rental income I'm using for vacations, that's profit. Pure profit. I've made over $50,000 since we got married. Patricia's mouth opened and closed like a fish. And before you ask, yes, I kept this from you. You want to know why? Because the second I mentioned I lived in Brooklyn, you looked at me like garbage. You assumed I was poor, desperate, lucky to have caught Derek. So I let it think. And you know what I learned? I learned that you don't respect me. Either of you. You respect money, property, status, but not me. Not the woman Derek supposedly loves. Derek was staring at me like I'd grown a second head. Why didn't you tell me? Because you never asked. You assumed, just like your mother. Maya, that's not fair. Isn't it? You checked our accounts for the lake house. Did you ever once ask if I had savings, investments, property? No. You just assumed I had nothing. I didn't think. Exactly. You didn't think, and neither did Patricia. You both saw a graphic designer from Brooklyn and wrote me off. Patricia found her voice. This is absurd. If you had money, why did you sign the prenup? Why did you pretend to be poor? I laughed. Because I wanted to see how you'd treat me. And congratulations, you failed spectacularly. I looked at Derek. Here's what's going to happen. We're going to marriage counseling. We're going to learn how to actually be partners, not this weird sugar daddy arrangement your mom has in her head. And Patricia, I turned to her, you're going to give me back the spare key to the condo. You're going to stop showing up unannounced, and you're going to apologize for treating me like a charity case. Patricia's face turned purple. I will do no such thing. Derek, are you going to let her speak to me this way? Derek was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, Mom, she's right. What? She's right. We did assume. I did assume. And that's not okay. He looked at me, tears in his eyes. Maya, I'm so sorry. I got so caught up in everything. The money, the status, making Mom happy. I forgot that I married you because I love you. not because of what you have or don't have. Patricia stood up, furious. This is unacceptable. Derek, if you side with her over your own mother, then I'm siding with my life, like I should have been doing all along. Patricia grabbed her purse. You'll regret this. Maybe, but I'd regret losing Maya more. She stormed out. The door slammed so hard my vintage mirror rattled. Derek and I sat in silence. Then he said, "Can I ask you something?" "Sure." "Why did you really keep this from me?" I thought about it. Honestly, I was scared. Scared that if you knew I didn't need you financially, you'd think I didn't need you at all. Or that you'd resent me for having my own success. And I guess I wanted to see if you'd love me, even if I had nothing. And you did. You do. You're just really bad at showing it sometimes. He laughed, a broken sound. I can work on that. It's been 6 months since that dinner. Derek and I did go to counseling. It wasn't easy. We had to unlearn a lot of toxic patterns, but we're getting there. We sold Derek's condo, moved into my apartment, our apartment. Patricia hasn't spoken to us, but Derek's dad called last week, said he was proud of Derek for standing up for his marriage, said Patricia would come around eventually. Maybe she will. Maybe she won't. But here's what I learned. Keeping that secret wasn't about deception. It was about self-preservation. It was about protecting myself from people who would have treated me differently, worse, if they'd known the truth from the start. Derek and I were sitting on the couch last night, my vintage velvet couch that Patricia hated, drinking wine and watching the sunset through those big Brooklyn windows. You know what's funny? What? I spent my whole life thinking money was everything. And then I married someone who had it and never told me. And that taught me more about real wealth than my mother ever did. Yeah? What's real wealth? He kissed my forehead. This. You. Coming home to someone who chose me when she didn't need to. That's worth more than any investment property in Connecticut. I smiled. Damn right it is. So yeah, I lied about owning my apartment. But that lie, it saved my marriage. Because it forced everyone, especially me, to figure out what we were really worth. And turns out, it had nothing to do with property deeds or bank accounts. It had everything to do with respect, partnership, and knowing your own value. And that apartment, that beautiful Brooklyn apartment I almost gave up, we're turning the second bedroom into a nursery. Because turns out, when you build your life on honesty, even if it takes a while to get there, you can build anything, even a family.